Howdy, Jason Lewis here, and today we're going to be doing one of those upgrades to the Jeep that the need for kind of sneaks up on you. Now, you always want to add beefier, cool-looking components to your rig, but the main reason why I'm actually adding these G2 aluminum differential housing covers will kind of surprise you. Let me get you some of the rundown of the details of these parts that we're installing, and then we'll get under the Jeep and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is kind of a fun install. So here we have a couple of the G2 Brute differential covers. They're made out of heat-treated aluminum, are powder-coated satin black with these pretty sweet milled cooling fins and magnetic drain plugs. These are not only a ton stronger than the stamped steel stock covers, but they make room for more oil, which keeps your gears much happier. The kit comes complete with new mounting hardware and even includes a tube of sealant per cover. This is a beginner level install. Anyone can pull this off with a few tools and a drain pan. The only thing to be ready for is the potential mess you might make. It catches me off guard every time. Okay, let's talk axles and diff covers for a second. This is a Jeep Rubicon, so this is a Dana 44 here. So now what I'll do is I'll show you the cool little feature that the Dana 44 has under here that lets you drain it. So if you were going to do just a simple gear oil change, these are super easy to do that. You drain it here, fill it here. The problem that I learned the hard way was that having this as your fill and level site on these axles, and especially on a Jeep with a little bit of lift, as this one does, that because once you add a little lift to your vehicle, you add a little pinion angle. So that this up here where your drive shaft attached is the pinion. And what happens is as you lift your Jeep, the pinion angle gets a little bit more aggressive or severe. Let's just say it just goes up a little bit, and that helps keep the drive shaft and the drive line angle correct, and so you don't wear out U-joints. Now by doing that, you now lower this point. So what I did was I changed gear oil one time and I just didn't even think of it. It took my buddy Jarrett from Crawl TV to point that out to me. I drove this thing across all the way to Moab from California and got this growling noise. It started making some noise, and it took him to point out. He goes, "Oh yeah, you need to actually either park on an angle to put this back, or like lift the back of the Jeep to get this to the right angle." Because what happens is if you, with the angle of the pinion up like this, if you fill the gear oil to this level, you are gonna be a little low, and that means your pinion bearing will not see the gear oil that it needs to help keep it happy. Now let's get that stock cover out of there. I had to break loose the bolts with a wrench and then could just buzz them off. Pro tip, leave the top two bolts on but loose so the cover doesn't try to escape before you're ready for it. And since I'm not reusing this cover, I just pried it off. You would think this is where I make a mess, but it's not. And there you go. Now, if you've been to my channel at all, you know what we're about to see is this side-by-side of this part and the new G2 covers. I love that part. It's really easy to see the differences side by side. All around strength, much more room for activities, and look at the mounting surface area. When I break that, I'll know I really got it wrong. You'll want to clean any gunk off the axle housing, and now is a great time to inspect your gears. About 2 years ago, I put G2 chromoly axles and 488:1 gears in this Jeep and have been very happy with them so far. And that is simply why I ordered the G2 diff covers. There's plenty of options out there, but these checked all the boxes for me. Using the included sealant, lay a bead around the inside of the new cover. You don't have to go crazy here. And then slide back over to that rear end. Okay, now for the glory. Make sure that that's clean. And what we'll do is you just want to make sure that you don't mess up your bead here. So I'm going to put 2 bolts in the top here. Line up the cover, just kind of get it into place here. Get these bolts started. Kind of the reverse of when we pulled put it, or pulled the other one off. There we go. Looking good. I don't know about you guys, but when I put washers on, do you always make sure that the beveled edge, the right side is facing out? I always do that. Is that just me? I think there's a right side and a wrong side to the washers. So now we'll just run around, put our included hardware in. I'm not going to tighten it up yet. Just going to get it in place. Now that we have a preliminary tighten on these, we will tighten them all to 25 foot-pounds. Check this out. We have these two. This would be the drain hole. And then this is our new fill. And that should make for things to be quite a bit easier. So let's go get some of our Lucas oil and fill this thing up. Now filling this is always a little awkward. So what I'm gonna do, since we have the room, having a lifted Jeep has its benefits sometimes. We're gonna put that funnel there. We're gonna bring in, I've been using this Lucas 7590 gear oil, synthetic gear oil, for a while now, and I really like it. I couldn't tell you a lot of the specs. Why? Other than when you read the bottle, it has all kinds of cool information about why it's awesome. And I've just had good experiences with it. So it's lasted, and since I drove thousands of miles across this country with low, here's a good testament to it, to both two parts, this stuff and the G2 gears. Now I put those 488 gears in here 2 years ago, and ever since I got the lift, I've been obviously running the diff oil low, and the only thing that I ended up having a problem with was the pinion bearing. And you can't blame that thing because that just goes tight. You don't want that monster tight. It's got O-rings on it, and that's the whole point of that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of lube on all of our O-rings here before I put those back in. Lubed O-rings are happy O-rings. It's a good life lesson. So now we have our drain plug in place and happy. We have our sight hole open and ready to go. Let's put some gear oil in. Now, I forgot to mention earlier that one of the other main benefits of having a larger diff cover is that you can hold more oil, and more oil helps dissipate heat better. So that's just even another thing that actually makes this a good upgrade. So according to the instructions, this may take about 2.5 quarts. So let's see what we can put in here. And off we go. Oops, that's what I was worried about. That always seems to happen. You always end up pouring a little bit of gear oil on yourself or on the ground. It just never seems to fail.
Here's making a mess round 2.
Shoot. Dang, that was a lot.
And even changing my aim didn't help. Spill number 3. Oh, dingleberries. Eventually, I got enough oil on the inside of the differential.
There we go. Now you can finally see we have a little bit of a drizzle coming out of this thing. So now we know that we are at this level here, which with this new cover is exactly where I want to be. So, boom. Seal that bad boy up. Tighten that down. We can pull this thing out and put our drain plug in there.
that's it. Obviously, we're going to clean up our mess. I made a complete and thorough mess out of this. I was doing so good, too. Everything was in the drain pan so far. And then, funnel problems. Looks like I need to work on my funnel technique. But we'll clean that up. Boy, it sure does look better. Boy, this is going to make me have to... All right, the next video on the Jeep will be the cleanup and the detail back onto the underside of this thing. I admit it's a bit of a mess under here. That's just because I've been just driving it and busy. So we'll get under here and clean this thing back up, detail it, and I may do a quick video on how I've done that in the past. But let's go and get the front one installed. Same procedure.
There is one thing to check before you try and slap an oversized diff cover on the front of your rig. Make sure your suspension components allow for this upgrade. I know my metal cloak track bar and tie rod were designed to make room for oversized diff covers. Yay for me. So just be aware, because I don't think the stock components would clear this cover. Also, I did find where the axle housing scraped against some rocks created a ridge on the lower seal surface that I used a flat file to smooth out before installing the new cover. Then it's just a matter of sealing and installing the front cover and tightening all of the hardware. I did grab my hand pump this time and managed to transfer all of the gear oil from the bottle to the inside of the differential. I got the level right and buttoned it up. See, easy. Now, take a minute to admire this good-looking and practical upgrade.
And so there you have it. We got one more fairly easy to do upgrade done on the Jeep, and this is an important one. Like I said, it helps preserve parts. It's not only stronger and looks better, but it helps preserve my gears. And that way I have a little bit more oil in there, get some better cooling. That's pretty cool. So until next time, enjoy your drive. I'm gonna get out and start driving this thing some more. It's time for an off-road adventure in that thing. Don't forget to follow me over there on AutoEdit Jason at Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. See you next time.